All right, well, welcome to Signature 2020. We are thrilled to have each of you here this week. My name is Alexis Holliday, and I am one of the Western District Counselors for Tau Beta Sigma. Before we begin, if you'd like, feel free to update your name in the Zoom to show what your name is, your chapter, and your pronouns if you'd like. I'll go ahead and give you a second to do that if you'd like to do that. All right. So then we'll go ahead and get started. Today we are joined by Jessica Piffero, who will be sharing her presentation titled Digitally Engaged While Socially Distant, Using Social Media to Stay Connected and Expand Your Reach. We know this is a very timely piece of information, especially for our chapters as we move into a fall semester with it being all virtual for most of us. So what Jessica has to say today is going to be of really great importance. So we're really excited to have her present today. So I'll go ahead and just kick it over to you, Jessica, and feel free to take it away.
Thanks, Alexis, and hi, everybody. I'm going to start sharing my screen here. All right, hopefully you all are seeing my screen now. Let me hit the present button. I can move these faces. There we go. Okay. So as Alexis mentioned, my name is Jessica Piffero. Presentation today is on social media. There's my contact information there if you guys want to find me on social media or shoot me any emails at any point. Always happy to engage with you guys and answer any further questions outside of this presentation. A little bit about me. I've worked in the public relations industry for over 10 years now. Prior to my current role, I worked for the American Red Cross. I was the Regional Director of Communications for Red Cross Central California. So that was all sorts of public relations work, including social media. And I was also a national spokesperson for the organization, specializing in disaster response. So as part of my role, I traveled across the nation responding to natural disasters, hurricanes Irma and Matthew, and countless wildfires and other disasters to help tell the story of what Red Cross was doing and to work with the news media, kind of international and nationally. And before that, I helped manage the branding and marketing materials for an international filtration company. And before that, I did public relations for a ski resort. So I've been doing this type of work for a really long time. The one common thread that has occurred through all of the jobs and all the industries I've worked in is social media, which has brought me to where I am now, which in a way is my dream job. I'm the social media manager for my alma mater, Fresno State, where I'm the proud third generation Bulldog. And now I get to do exclusively social media, but I'm using all of the foundation that I laid over the last decade to help influence what we do. Because it's a lot of crisis communications, it's a lot of strategy and creative thinking. So I really love the job that I get to do now. And I hope you guys find this presentation interesting. You can put questions in the chat box. I will try to see them, but more likely I will try to answer your questions at the end. We'll try to leave some time for you then. But that's kind of me in a nutshell. Oh yeah, and I'm an alumni of Kappa Kappa Psi Iota Alpha chapter here at Fresno State. So proud brother and proud to call all of you my sisters and grateful for this opportunity to get to speak with you today. So a little bit about what we're going to cover today. We're primarily going to be discussing ways that you can help manage your chapter accounts to build community, develop creative content, do some outreach in this digital environment that we're experiencing. So we're going to talk about the responsibility that comes with managing these chapter accounts. We're going to talk about the algorithms and why they're good and why they're bad and why we should listen to them, but also not really. We're going to talk about analytics and insights and kind of doing that back-end research. We're going to look at the importance of building community in our current environment and some ways to do that. We're going to think outside of the box, and hopefully you can walk away with some inspiration to take them to your home chapters. And then we're going to talk about what comes next after this presentation. What is the roadmap that you can have in front of you to help you have a successful year managing chapter social media accounts? So first I want to show you guys this tweet. I mentioned that I worked for the American Red Cross. Before I ever got there, way back in 2011, the national social media manager of the American Red Cross account, which has millions of followers, tweeted out, Ryan found 4 bottle packs of Dogfish Head's Midas Touch beer. When we drink, we do it right, hashtag getting slizzard, which if you don't know are the lyrics from the 2010 pop hit breakout song Like a G6 by the band Far East Movement. This was obviously a mistake. She meant to tweet from her personal account, but here we are. It went out nationally to millions of followers across the nation. In this case, they handled it really well. This was a case study where they responded appropriately, and it turned out for the best. They deleted the tweet and said, we've deleted the rogue tweet, but rest assured, Red Cross is sober and we've confiscated the keys, which was cute and clever and addressed the oopsie and helped take care of the situation. It turned out to be a positive in a way because Dogfish Beer, of course, found out about it, thought it was great that the Red Crossers behind the scenes were fans of their product, and they actually started a fundraiser for the Red Cross and raised a few $1,000s for the organization out of it. So this was like a good example of how things ended up well, but it could have gone very badly. So it's important for us as social media managers, we're often toggling back and forth between our personal accounts and our work accounts, or our personal accounts and the organization accounts that we run. So my golden rule is always never post anything that you wouldn't want your boss or your grandma to see. And then that way, if you're always posting content that is either appropriate or professional, when that mistake does happen, hopefully it never does, but if it does, it's going to be less of a cleanup to do. So just always be appropriate in that way. Plus, aside from that, you know, you guys have all been raised kind of in a social media era, so you know this already. But even if your account is private, nothing is ever truly private. All it takes is one person taking a screenshot, and all of a sudden, your tweet that you thought was private has gone viral and it's been taken out of context, and everyone in the world has seen it. So you just follow Jessica's golden rule and just be appropriate, and ask yourself this question: would I want my boss or my grandma to see this? If the answer is no, maybe think twice about posting it. Let me go on here. Trying to figure out how I can see some of your faces without it blocking my screen, but that's being difficult. Okay, all right, moving on to algorithms. Here, people always ask me, how often should I be posting on social media? And this should have a big asterisk, because like, this is a good guideline, but algorithms are constantly changing, and these are just generic best practices, and you may find that something else works for your pages. So on Facebook, if you can, once a day max, a minimum of 3 times a week if you can swing it, but no more than once a day. One study found that Facebook pages experienced a 50% drop in engagement per post if they posted more than once per day. So don't crowd the news feed. Give it some room to breathe, and more people are more likely to see your post if you do that. On Instagram, same thing, once per day, maybe minimum of 3 times a week if you can. Twitter, tweets have a shorter shelf life, so you could tweet more frequently. At Fresno State, we tweet, probably 3 to 6 times per day. It goes up and down depending on how busy it is. Like during the summer, things are slower. We're probably tweeting 2 or 3 times a day. But in the school year, when things ramp up, we tweet more often when there's more activity to promote. In Instagram stories, keep it to under 10 a series. You don't want to see the little itty bitty marching ant dots along the top of your screen. You want a little bit wider dashes. The more you post on your stories in a series, people are more likely to lose interest. The average engagement or retention rate for Instagram stories for the industry is around 70%. So you want 70% of your audience to start at the first slide and stay with you all the way to the last. Some other things: Facebook favors video, particularly videos that are 3 minutes or longer. And that's for a few different reasons. In part because they want to be able to push ads out to you. And when they put the ads in the middle of the video, that is they do that on videos that are 3 minutes or longer. So they want to be able to sell ads. Also, they're just fighting to become the platform where people go to watch content. This is happening across all the platforms, YouTube, Netflix. They're all fighting for your screen time. So if Facebook can convince people to go to their platform to watch long form video, then that's a good thing for them. So Facebook favors longer form video, whereas Instagram favors photos. So usually a visually stunning photograph will draw attention to your post and then let your audience know like what you really want them to know in the caption. So just capture their attention with a pretty photo, and then put, your information in the caption below. This sounds like a lot, especially when, you guys are really just part-time social media managers. You have other responsibilities, you have jobs, you have other roles within your chapters. And maybe this sounds like a full-time job, and it is. I do it full-time. There are free tools available to help you schedule this content out. Platforms like Hootsuite or Buffer allow you to schedule. And then most of the platforms have opportunities to actually schedule content directly through the platforms. Twitter just released theirs like this month or last. So you can actually directly in Twitter draft and schedule a tweet and tell it you want that tweet to publish next Thursday. That's an option. Facebook has it, and I believe you can schedule an Instagram post through Facebook as well if your Instagram and Facebook accounts are connected. So there are resources available. You don't have to be sitting at your phone or your computer every single day manually publishing this content. Use these tools to make your life, easier and more efficient. So like I said, the algorithm, yeah, it's important, but take it all with a grain of salt. What's more important than the algorithm is consistency. You should have a steady drumbeat of content that's being pushed out regularly. And quality over quantity. Don't post on social media just for the sake of posting. If you don't have anything to say, that's fine. That shouldn't be a problem because there's opportunities to find creative ways to share content. And when we look at some inspiration, you'll see that. But definitely focus on quality over quantity. And lastly, let the analytics show you what works. Sometimes social media can be much more of a science than an art. And all you have to do is look at the numbers and read them like tea leaves. What are the numbers telling you about what is working for your accounts? Speaking of analytics, when I say that, the analytics and the platforms, it can be overwhelming. There's more data than you could ever possibly want to know. But if there's three main things that you should look for, it's these three. You're looking for engagement. So an engagement is anytime someone likes, comments, clicks, shares, replies, retweets, any of those count as engagements. And your engagement rate is the percentage of people who saw your post and then engaged with it. And the people who saw your post, those are impressions. So impressions are the number of times your content was seen. That's also important to know. That helps you determine your overall reach. And lastly, your audience. What is the age and gender of your audience? What do they want to see? Are they active members? Are they alumni? Are they community members? That information is good to know if you can get it. So I'll show you quickly. I mentioned I manage the Fresno State social media accounts. I want to show you just a few examples of what this looks like for us. And these are analytics screenshots that I've pulled directly from the platforms themselves. So if you go to pull this data, if you've never done it before for your chapter accounts, it'll look similar to this. So these are some of our top posts from our Twitter account. There are photos with these. You can see the pic.twitter link. That's where the photos are. They just don't show up in this format. But here's a couple of our top posts by engagement rate over the last month or so. And the far column on the right, has the turquoise box. That's the engagement rate. The first number column is impressions. The middle one is engagements, but we're looking at the engagement rate. It may look kind of low, 2.6, 6.8, but when you think that kind of the industry standard across the platform, the engagement rate is like 1 to 2%. This is really good. So when I look at data like this, it looks like a sea of numbers. But you have to start to develop patterns and look for what was successful in these posts. And for me, when I look at this screenshot, what I learn is that there are clear calls to action in each of these posts. If you read them in detail, it says things like click this link, check out this info, relive the moment with the photos. There are opportunities there and we're directly asking our audience, click on this link, do this thing, check this out. And then they're doing it because these are posts that have our highest engagement rates in this particular snapshot. So that is one way to look at things like engagement rates on Twitter. Here are our Instagram impressions over a 3-month time frame. If you guys are on Instagram and you haven't converted your account yet, you'll want to convert your account to a business account in order to access these analytics. The main feature that you lose by doing this is the music feature in stories. So, you know, when like you post a story and you can like play music in it, you lose that as a business account because there are copyright infringement conflicts with that. So you do lose that feature, which is kind of lame, but you instead, in turn, you get all these analytics and you can pull all this data to know what's working for your accounts. So this is a screenshot of what that looks like. When I look at this data, what I learned is that our audience is culturally aware and values diversity. There's several posts here related to current events. You can see in the top left corner, we have a black square. So we participated in Blackout Tuesday. But not only that, we provided a link to resources to help lift up Black voices and educate our community. We felt that was important. We didn't want to just give a shallow response. We have, you can see the statue there of Martin Luther King Jr. That's in our Peace Garden on campus. That was in regards to current events. There was a post in here about issuing a statement about the Supreme Court DACA ruling that happened, I think, earlier this month. So those posts performed really well. Our students were really appreciative that we were coming out with statements about these topics. We also learned that students come to the account to see the latest campus news. Several of these posts are related to just all the current events that are going on at Fresno State. Students are curious to know what's happening with Dog Days, which is our freshman orientation. What's happening with the fall semester? Are we going to be able to go back to school? A lot of these top posts, while you can't see the captions, just know lots of them are about that. And our audience has school spirit and pride in our beautiful campus. A lot of times, even if we're just posting like an informational update about fall 2020, we may pair it with just a pretty photo of campus, like I mentioned, that draws people's attention, and then they see the information they need in the caption. And sometimes we just share a pretty photo of campus because our students miss campus, and they're really appreciative of that information. Here's a screenshot of some of our Facebook analytics, and this shows you what our audience looks like on this platform. The first graph shows you when your fans are online. And looking at this data, it looks like Monday at like 8 p.m. is like the best time where our fans are online. But again, you take that with a grain of salt because they're not necessarily going to see your post when you post it on Monday night. They may see it they may see your post from last Thursday today. So, it's not an exact science, but it's good to know. It just helps you understand the mindset of your audience. And maybe there's a chance they'll see your post if they happen to be online when you publish. We also get a look at our audience demographics. So here we can see our largest demographic is women between the ages of 25 and 34, so basically me. And 14% of our audience falls within the traditional college age range. So that's always the discussion we're having in our office is, are the traditional college age students on Facebook, or is Facebook just for old people? Well, 14% of our audience falls in that age range. So there are some students on there. We do have an unofficial student Facebook group that is very active and has tens of thousands of people in it. And they're always exchanging information about what's happening on campus. So there are students on Facebook, and sometimes there's value in us posting about campus information or student information on Facebook. So one of the things that that we're facing right now as a university is what we call summer melt, right? There's lots of students who may be deciding they don't want to go to a 4-year institution right now, or they can't afford to. Lots of people have been impacted by the economy, and they're making changes. So how do we combat that? How do we keep our students and our campus community engaged over the summer when there's nothing to do physically in person? Well, we can use social media to do that. So here's a few ways that we've been building community. I'm not saying you guys have to do these exact things, but maybe they'll spark some inspiration in you. So here's one thing that we did. We did a fun Instagram fun facts, the quiz series. And it had questions like, how old is Fresno State's live mascot, Victory Bulldog? Well, he's 5 years old. So you would do the quiz, and then you get the answer page, which has more details about the correct answer. So we did these for various topics on campus, and it was a lot of fun, and we had a really great retention rate. Students were really excited. And then at the end, there was like a little scorecard that was like, if you got 4 out of 4, answers correct, you're a Bulldog for life. And students were like sharing that, like sharing your score with their friends to see who got a higher score. And it was a lot of fun. While these graphics were built by our graphics department, the quiz feature on Instagram, anybody can access. It's easy to create, and it's a fun way just to engage with people. A few other ways that we've try to build community over the summer and beyond. This graphic on the left, we typically in the summer months, we do a campaign called #RepFresnoState, and we ask people while they travel across the country or around the world on their summer vacations to wear their Fresno State gear, rep Fresno State, use the hashtag, tag us on social media, and we would share their cool vacation photos of them like in their Fresno State shirts. Obviously, that has shifted this year, and vacations have been canceled. So instead, we shifted it to support local businesses. So Rep Fresno State while you support local businesses in town. My student assistant created this red graphic for free in Canva. So if you're not familiar with Canva, check it out. I have a link that I'm going to share with you guys that has more links to these kinds of resources. But it was an easy thing to do, and we put at the bottom, tag Fresno State and 3 friends to share their favorite local businesses. So it helps extend our reach. We put that call to action to tag 3 friends, and maybe it's 3 friends that wouldn't have seen our original post. Maybe they don't follow Fresno State yet, but now they're going to because their buddy just tagged them. And it was a fun way to just, build community during this time. The middle post shows kind of how we tried to do this during commencement season. Obviously, our class of 2020 grads were really bummed out that they didn't get their commencement opportunity in the spring. We're still hoping to celebrate with them down the line when it's safe to do so. But in the meantime, we had to find some unique ways to celebrate them. So we had this photo in our archives from a previous ceremony. So we just said, our graduating Bulldogs wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the support and sacrifices of friends and family. Tag your loved ones below and let us know who helped you cross the finish line. And we got dozens of comments, and it was just so beautiful to see the community coming together and celebrating each other and congratulating each other. And it was just really heartwarming to read through the comments. And lastly, on this page, we have #BulldogsInLove. This was our Valentine's campaign. And this is what we call in the industry user-generated content, or UGC. And so about 2 weeks before Valentine's Day, we started putting out the call. If you met your loved one at Fresno State, use the #BulldogsInLove and share your Fresno State love story with us. This is one of the examples of the post that we got. This couple, they met working for the school newspaper back in the 80s, and happily married to this day. So we love seeing our Bulldogs in love story, and we were able to share these on Valentine's Day and celebrate each other. So that was a lot of fun. The moral of the story is there's no hack for getting fit. There's no hack for building community. There's no hack for maintaining a meaningful relationship. All the best things in life require consistent effort over long periods of time. And this is a tweet from one of my favorite Twitter followers, Matt Kobach. If you don't follow him, I highly recommend checking him out if you want to learn more about social media management. He's a great person to follow. So we could do all these things, but we have to do them consistently and over time. And that's how we can really effectively build community. One of those ways that we do that is through engagement. So here's another screenshot. The original tweet is from my personal Twitter account from the previous commencement season, back when we still had commencement ceremonies. And I tweeted out, I was obviously working the event for Fresno State for social media. And I tweeted out from my own personal account this celebratory tweet. A couple brothers and sisters that I knew were graduating this year. So I took some selfies with them and posted them on social media. My home chapter, Kappa Kappa Psi Iota Alpha from Fresno State, they saw the tweet and quote retweeted it and said, hey, we know that guy in the third picture. We see Brother Duff. Awesome. That's super cool. They saw it. They recognized it. They engaged with it, and they celebrated this alumni brother's success. So that's a great example of what we should be doing. But I will say they did miss the fact that there's another brother and an alumni sister in these photos, and those people weren't recognized. In the top left corner is Sister Midori from Eta Omega, and then myself from Iota Alpha. So that was a missed opportunity. So I say this just to say it's a good example and a not great example, but take the time to get to know your alumni, be familiar with them, take the extra step to find them on social media and engage with them, because we're there. This can help you in so many ways if you do this. One, it helps you build a stronger relationship with your alumni who can help you. We can help you professionally, do workshops like we're doing now. We can help you financially when that's needed. Two, expand your reach and grow your following. If someone sees that their colleague follows this fraternity or sorority on social media, then they may go follow them too. Maybe they're in the same industry, and that helps expand your reach. Three, it gives you content ideas such as celebrating their personal successes. So I just think it's a really great idea in general. Go find those alumni, seek them out, and engage with them. And if you do this consistently as part of your engagement plan, then you will see the results and you will build community. All right, so let's talk about what chapters are posting on social media now. Here's what's inside the box. Some of this should look familiar because a lot of chapters, I did my research. I follow lots of chapter accounts anyway, but I went and did some research when I got asked to do this presentation. This is what y'all are posting. Birthday posts. I know when everybody's birthday is in the chapter. Every birthday gets celebrated. Group photos, a group of people in a line. I don't know who any of those people are because I've been alumni for a long time and I haven't been to an activity in a while. So group photos of people standing in a line. Membership spotlights with maybe not a lot of significance, just saying, Sister of the Week, Sister so-and-so, have a great day. And fundraisers without explaining the purpose behind them. Okay, you want me to come by the music building and buy your cookie for $5, but what is that money going towards? What is my donation going to, and how is it going to support our community or our department? So as we think about ways to think outside of the box, and none of these are bad, by the way, they're just low-hanging fruit, and we can repackage the same information in a more dynamic way. So a few things that we could do. Instead of a traditional member spotlight where you just post a photo and a couple sentences, maybe do some Instagram takeovers. Give that person the keys to the car for the day and show us what a day in the life of this member looks like. Music education. We're in an environment now where you're not going to be able to go into classrooms and teach elementary kids about different instruments. How do we take this music education component of what we do and do it digitally and hand it over to the community and provide this value to your audience? Share industry news. Did a female conductor just get a promotion or just get her own ensemble with the local Philharmonic? Something like that. Even if that person's not a sister, let's celebrate that success, because part of what the organization is about lifting up those individuals. Calls to engage. We've already seen some examples. Leave a comment, tag a friend. When you do those things, you can help expand your reach. Interactive content like Instagram quizzes or Twitter polls. More video. We talked about how some platforms like Facebook favor video. So maybe instead of a traditional, photo post, maybe you find a way to make that a video. You don't have to be a professional videographer anymore to do this. All of you have all the equipment you need at the palm of your hand, right in your smartphone. You can do wonders with iMovie. I can tell you because I've done it. It's remarkable what the tool can do, and you don't need fancy equipment to do it. So think about how you can maybe integrate more video. Member spotlights are easy. You know them, they're your friends, you have them on speed dial, you text with them all the time. Maybe spotlight some more alumni. That will help you grow your reach as well. And brag more, you guys. You're doing incredible work every day. I know even in this digital environment, you're still hard at work. And the types of activities that seem just like everyday stuff to you, sometimes that's what can be celebrated. And if you brag about that on social media, that's going to help show, potential, future new members. It's going to show the community the value that you bring to the department and to your campus community. So let's look at some examples. I went through some local music industry accounts and pulled out some ideas that I thought might spark some inspiration. Again, these may not be perfect for your accounts, but maybe if they just get, the brain juices flowing, and maybe it'll help you think creatively for how you can do this type of content on your own chapter accounts. So this one seemed like a no-brainer to me. Spotify playlists, it's free and it connects directly to our musical mission. Here's examples of how the LA Phil and this woodwind manufacturer did that. Alternatively, YouTube playlists is another way to go about this. So just create your chapter account and start compiling playlists for all sorts of different topics. The Santa Fe Opera, if you don't follow them on social media, they're a good follow. They do all sorts of really cool creative stuff with like Instagram influencers and things. But one of their traditions is they do like pregame opera tailgating before the opera. And obviously they can't do that now in this environment. So they hosted a virtual opera tailgate, and then they live streamed a performance. And so they had their community submit their photos and use the hashtag of how they were participating. Blue Devils, for all you drum corps fans out there, they've been doing some fun interactive things on their Instagram account. Here's one where they just posted some photos of a particular show and said, guess the show, guess the name of it and the year that it happened. And then they followed up with a comment promoting their online gala. So that was a fun engagement. You could see it got over 10,000 likes. USC, as much as it pains me to promote the Spirit of Troy marching band, love to our rivals, but here's how they're highlighting their members right now. So this is not unlike what lots of chapters do to promote their own membership, but they're doing it in a more dynamic way. So here's Steve, a tuba player that they wanted to spotlight. So the first tweet is like a 45-second video of Steve talking and introducing himself and talking about himself. Then they followed it up with a second tweet. They made it a thread, and they added a little more nugget of information and put photos of Steve in action in the band. And they follow the same format and formula for all of their member spotlights. So again, it's not bad to do member spotlights, but here's just a more interactive way to go about it. Yamaha Music, they just posted a cool photo of some of their equipment and just asked, in your opinion, what song has the best drum solo of all time? Turns out it's a controversial question because lots of people are discussing it in the comments, which is good because that drives engagement and reach. And it just goes to show that not every post has to be a direct sales pitch. Yeah, at the end of the day, Yamaha wants to sell music equipment, but this is a case where they're really more focused on building community, creating a dialogue, and expanding an audience. And lastly, the Ohio State University Marching Band, they just put together a 2-minute compilation of their twirlers just twirling. And it was just something different to see on Twitter that wasn't people arguing about politics. It was cool to watch. It was fun. It was easy to compile. It didn't require like a lot of video editing. And it was just something cool. So those are some examples from how other people in the music industry are using social media these days. And I hope maybe it provided some inspiration. So what next? Where do we go from here? You've been inspired. You have all these great ideas. So what do we do now? We have to build a roadmap to success. So you got to do some research first. You got to identify over the last year, what were your top performing posts? Who is your audience, and what are they really interested in seeing? What were your impressions and engagement rates from the previous year? You could look at that as an average or as a total, either way, but just do some basic analysis of your accounts. Okay, this next part is it may seem like overkill, but I'm gonna tell you that a lot of people pay a lot of money to go to business school to learn what I'm gonna show you right now. And it may seem overwhelming, but I think by practicing this exercise, it'll make more sense and will help you if you plan on going into, marketing, public relations, any sort of leadership or management role in the future. And at the end of the presentation, I have a worksheet for you that will help make this process easier for you. So you have to set these 4 things in order to proceed. And you don't have to do it in a super formal way. I'm going to show you how to build some structure around it. But at the very least, you need to ask yourself these questions. What are my goals? What are my objectives? How are we going to measure success? What are the approaches that we're going to take to achieve that goal? Then that's in the form of our strategies. And then our tactics. What are the tools that we're going to use to achieve this? So goals. So goals are these broad primary outcomes. Possible answers for social media: expand our reach, boost engagement, educate my audience. You may be setting goals on a chapter level, which is great. And this whole process is scalable. So if you want to go off of your goals that the chapter sets, cool. You may have a goal like position our organization as leaders in the local music industry. So you can then base your strategies and objectives and everything off of that chapter-wide goal, if that makes sense. Then you're going to set objectives. You have to be able to know you're going to undertake this plan. You're going to create all this social media content. And for what? How do we know at the end of the day that it was successful? So you have to be able to measure success by setting objectives, and set timelines for when these goals and objectives should be accomplished. But some possible objectives might be: increase your engagement rate, add 100 new followers, identify and follow 15 more alumni, collect $500 through an online fundraiser. Those are the types of things that you can actually measure. And then you want to develop some strategies and tactics. So how do we actually accomplish these goals? You might say, we're going to produce more interactive content, such as fun Instagram templates or Twitter polls. Or we're going to develop digital music education, and we're going to do that by creating an instrument petting zoo video series that we can publish on Facebook. Or we're going to spotlight successful alumni by having our alumni do Instagram takeovers. These are just examples. And this is just an example of a chart that they can look like. So as you start to develop your goals and everything, you can plug them into a chart, and that way you have everything in one place. So what's an example of what that might look like? Here's one that I just did just to show you, for example. So if your goal was to expand our reach and influence on Instagram, you might set these objectives: increase engagement rate, grow our following, and achieve an average number of impressions. Our strategies for that: the first one might be regularly publish original creative content. Some tactics to do that might be to create a minimum of 1 post per week, develop monthly interactive activities, utilize both feed post and stories content. So that's just an example of what that might look like. And then you would do one of these graphs for each of your goals. Maybe like, I would say no more than 5 goals. Maybe like 2, 3, 4 goals is probably like enough to bite off. But in the end, random social media tactics lead to random results. So you really need to develop some kind of strategy, whether you follow this plan or something else. This is just one possible tool that you can use to develop that strategy. I went through, I Googled music holidays, and there's a bunch, you guys. Like, you could talk about, like, I want to know, like, why isn't there National Clarinet Day? I'm very upset by this. I'm offended that we have Trombone Day and Saxophone Day. Anyway, I'm sure it's out there. It wasn't on this list. But, look for these types of holidays. And then there's national holidays as well. And then your organizational holidays. There's all sorts of Founders Days, right? There's the National Founders Day, Chapters Founders Day. You can recognize the brothers in Kappa Kappa Psi, their Founders Day, the day that your university was founded, WAVA's birthday. There's all these different holidays. And, don't rely exclusively on holidays for your content. This is really low-hanging fruit, same as like the standard membership highlights or birthday posts. But once you plug all these dates into your calendar, you can start to plan to develop more dynamic content around them. And then that way they'll be more effective. And then your other more strategic content will fall naturally into place on the calendar. And next thing you know, you'll have a well-rounded content plan for the year. So factor these in. And like I mentioned, I promised I have a planning worksheet. We can share the link in the chat. But it's just a worksheet that you guys can can explore that helps you answer some of these questions so you can develop this roadmap for yourself. I created this just for you guys, so practice filling it out. You can share it with your chapter or chapter leadership and make sure everyone is on the same page and understands what your priorities are. So you can even fill this out as a chapter and discuss larger chapter goals. It doesn't have to be specific to social media, even though that's what I had in mind. So that was a lot of information. I know I'm a fast talker. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Let me exit this presentation. I couldn't see your faces because I minimized the window, so hopefully you guys weren't bored to death. But anyway, we have a few minutes left if anybody has any questions.
Everyone's being very shy right now, but it looks like she's put the sheet in the chat. So go ahead and take a look at that. Is there anything, I would like to try to maybe hear from some of you. Is there anything in her presentation that kind of stuck out to you? It's like, man, like we could totally do that. Or maybe you've done something similar and that was really successful and you kind of want to replicate that. I'd like to hear from a couple of you.
I would say that after this presentation, I just have a lot more ideas that we could do in our chapter in regards to social media. Basically, everything you said was kind of a new idea to me, but that's good because it's getting us exposed to these new ideas and different things that we could be doing. But one thing I thought you said that was very interesting was having, instead of like giving a shout out to someone on social media, was have a member take over social media for a day. I thought that was very interesting, and that could be really interesting for not only the people who follow us, but for the members in the chapter as well to become more active in our social media. So I think we'll probably be implementing something like that in the future, hopefully.
Awesome. That's a great takeaway. I love that. It's something we're trying to do more of at Fresno State as well, because it's just such a great, like, dynamic way to share the same kind of information and celebrate individuals. So that's awesome.
I guess I have a question. Our chapter hasn't been really active on social media within the past year. Would you have any recommendations for a good way to build that up again? Not to like immediately bombard our old followers with like brand new information.
That's a good question. I think just take off with it, man. Just do it. And the people who decide that, maybe the content isn't relevant to them anymore, they're going to unfollow you, whether it's today or next week. They're going to make that decision, and they're just not that important of an audience member for you at that point. So I would not stress about those people. You're always going to lose some and gain some. There are times where, as Fresno State, like, we may lose a couple hundred followers in a month, and I kind of freak out, but then I realize like the net growth. So if we lose 200 followers, maybe we gained 400 though. So at the end of the day, we still gained a following, and our following is constantly evolving. So so I would not stress about bugging those people. They're going to choose to unfollow you anyway, and then you could focus on a more updated audience.
Cool, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else see anything in this presentation that you think you might want to explore more for in the fall semester, or like you specifically, Valerie, did you see something that if you're going to be getting back your account kind of a little bit more active, is there kind of at least one or maybe two things that you might want to try out first?
I definitely like the idea of having, takeovers and being more involved with like the sisters, taking over the account, not just like one person. And I know an idea we've sprouted around our chapter, because a lot of the sisters in our chapter have pets, being like the pets of Alpha Chi, and just, introducing their pets and having a takeover in that way, because who doesn't love animals? So I think that's something that I think would be a good way to start. And then just also being more connected with not only the district account, but all the national account, like reposting more information. I think that's definitely a good way to go too.
Yeah. Anything additional? I know we've heard from Alpha Chi a little bit, San Diego State. What about you, Theta Delta? Anything from you guys thinking about?
We've had a lot of success with, I wouldn't say a lot of, but fairly good success with Instagram takeovers in the past, and they've kind of fizzled out a little bit. So I'm hoping to, and it kind of reminded me about it. So I'm kind of hoping to integrate that a little bit more, especially as the school year starts up again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like one of the reasons I really wanted this presentation is because, and I talked to Jessica about a little bit, when you're not all together and hanging out every day or seeing each other in the music building or whatever, like how are we going to create community? And if it has to be in a virtual format for the fall semester, why not get started now with, you know, these takeaways of like, this is exactly how we need to start, like almost like creating a strategic plan to actually engage with people, because the plan can't be just meet out at the marching band field at 3 o'clock and hang out, right? So you know, continue like using the internet and using social media as like a way to continue that engagement, whether it be for recruitment purposes or whatever. So you know, that was my hope in bringing Jessica here today, to speak to you guys, just to kind of give you some ideas about what's worked for her, and specifically from her chapter experience, knowing what, you know, fraternity and sorority do, then you know, you being able to take that information and apply it to your chapters in the fall. Have you guys been thinking about that at all, and how you might want to do things a little differently virtually? That may be why you're here. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, any other last minute questions before I did want to see if everybody could go ahead and plug their social media handles, that, you know, that you guys are having right now. If you guys kind of take a minute to write those down and shout them out and just kind of go around a little bit and make sure we get those shared with each other. Yeah. All right, so who wants to share out first? You guys can all follow each other too if you don't already.
Can I plug the new Insta account
Please.
for the so we have a new TBS Western District Instagram account at TBS_WD. So go follow that. You'll probably get a follow back from me. So yeah.
We are most active on our Instagram, which is TBS_Cougs. Yeah, that's our Instagram.
For clarification with that, we have an old TBS_Theta_Delta that we no longer use because we lost the password or something along those lines. So we just created a new one.
Yeah, a good rule of thumb is to always have like 3 people who have the password. That way, if someone leaves or whatever, that happened to our Fresno State Snapchat account. So please don't try to snap me at Fresno State, because I can't get into it. So always make sure lots of people have those passwords.
So Alpha Chi has an Instagram, which is TB Sigma Alpha Chi. And it's, yeah.
It's not active, but we're
hoping
for it to be more.
I just sent my chapter's Instagram in the chat, but it is Tau Beta Sigma _Zeta Xi.
I don't know if Omicron has one. I don't know how to get into it either. I will figure that out though.
Well, see, that's good. Like, I mean, it's not good, but it you know, it's helpful now that you are going to start doing this. 'Cause I think you guys do have one. I think I follow it, so I'll make sure
Do you
to
have the password and stuff, right?
see if we can do that. Yeah, awesome. So everybody shared out at this point. So Jessica, do you have anything last minute that you kind of want to discuss or talk about to kind of wrap things up?
Yeah, I'll just remind everybody that I am available because I work on a college campus and I interact with college kids all the time. It's not weird for me to, get emails or questions from students. So if you ever just want to bounce an idea off somebody or get some feedback, I'm more than happy to chat with you about your content ideas or your strategies. So feel free to reach out. My email address is in that worksheet that I shared with you guys. You can find me on the Twitters. I'll put my handle here at the real JPIF. I post lots of social media and PR related content there. So stay in touch, and I'm excited to see what you guys do this year.
Great. All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming to this session. We'll go ahead and we will be posting the link up later on. So if there's people in your chapter that want to watch, or people from other chapters that didn't get to attend tonight, definitely share that with them. But again, thank you so much, Jessica, for sharing your expertise and your time with our sisters. And it's just been a real joy having you here and just spreading this really important information as we head into a virtual fall semester. But yeah, so have a great evening, everyone. Stay safe, relax. And if you're going to be attending more events this week, I can't wait to see you. Make sure to try to get some of your other sisters too to join and sign up for some of the really great workshops we have all week. And then towards the end of the week, we will be doing awards Friday night at 7 o'clock. So we want to make sure 7 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 8 o'clock MST. So if you're interested in attending that, I think that'd be really great as well. But again, thank you so much, Jessica, for spending your time with us. And yeah, have a great evening, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.